But as a mother, to see this is heart-wrenching. He wasn't a perfect child, but it's your child and you love him.
Well, first of all, Ms. Darlene, what is your number one question about what happened to Ronald? What question do you want answered the most?
How was he able to do something like this in jail? And they won't tell me nothing. They keep telling me it's under investigation, and all I wanted to know was, how was this possible that he did what he did? Because I feel like, she said, they do rounds every 30 or 45 minutes, but how was he able to, it just, how was he able to do it? And I'm not getting any answers.
Yeah. As a mom, can you share with me, Miss Darlene, how you're feeling? How does this?
It's very emotional for me because I know my son had problems, and he'd been in and out of the prison system. And as a mother, you always want to think the best for your child, because when Ronnie started entering this, I figured they would get him in good counseling. They would get him the help that he needed, being incarcerated. But instead of doing that, in the beginning it started out that way, and he was making strides. But then it seemed like you reach a certain point, and then they just dropped the ball. And when he turned 18, they threw him in prison. He was a full-grown man, and they threw him in prison. And I don't think Ronnie was ready for it, and he couldn't handle it. And from there, the prison was his role model. And that's how he learned how to cope in life, was prison life. And he learned from a bunch of people that were not stable, I guess is what you want to say. I don't know. But I know he got worse. The longer he was in there, the worse he got. Because I feel like, and he was also trying to educate himself and make himself, he took courses, and he was making some strides there for a while, and then I don't know what happened. It just, boom, but as a mother, to see this is heart-wrenching. He wasn't a perfect child, but it's your child and you love him. And no mother wishes, I don't wish this on any mother, to lose a child. I lost a husband 5 years ago from cancer. I can deal with it, and I loved him. But to lose my child, I can't. It's hard. And I feel, I have a hole in my heart. I think, in a way, the system failed him. He failed himself. We did everything. We did everything we could. And it's like when the year his dad died, I was sending him money in prison. And then I come to find out the money I was sending, he was buying drugs in there. And I said, I'm not sending you any more money if that's what it's going to do, if that's what you're taking that money for. And you're buying drugs? How are you getting drugs in prison? And he said, laughed and said, Mom, it's so easy. He said, even the guards bring it in.
Take me back, Miss Darlene, to the moment you found out something had happened. How did you find out?
That Ronnie was, my daughter called me and said, she was crying. She said, Mom, at the hospital, it's Ronnie, you got to come up here now. And I said, okay. And I called my other daughter, because she lives not far from me. She came by and picked me up. We went up to the hospital. And I went in and I seen him. And I started asking questions, and I asked him, I said, and then I found out that he had been there a full 24 hours before I had been notified. And I said, why weren't we notified earlier, sooner? You had him a full 24 hours, and I'm just now finding out about my son. And the police officer told me, well, you weren't on the list. I said, his sister was on the list. Why didn't you call her? And he said, well, we didn't know. And I said, what do you say? They said she wasn't on the list. And I know my daughter was on the list because my daughter just sent him some money. And she just accepted a phone call from him. So that's how I found out, was my daughter called me.
Do you feel like, Ms. Darlene, since they are in the custody of the Tarrant County Sheriff, that there's a responsibility to make sure they don't hurt anybody else or hurt themselves?
Absolutely, because they took my son and made him awarded their state. He is in their custody. And any child custody battle, when you become a ward of the state, they are supposed to take care of you. I lose my privilege as a mother of taking care of him, and the state takes over. So yes, therefore, they are held responsible, just like I'm held responsible for my child if anything happens. The state holds me responsible for it. So they need to take action and accept responsibility for this and quit sloughing it off and saying, we don't know. They make it go away. Being nice and kind is one thing, but there's people out there, there's kids out there that's dying, and they're getting away with it. And nothing is being done, and it's got to stop. My son wasn't perfect, but I loved him, and he was a human being. I don't care who you are, you're still a human being, and God loves you. And if God can love you, human beings got to start loving each other.
You want answers?
Yes, I do. I want honest answers. I don't want this attitude, well, you're just nobody.
Don't blame the family.
I am a mother who's grieving. There's a lot of other mothers out there all over this world that's grieving over stuff like this. And I understand they're overworked, understaffed, whatever. But even when I walked into his hospital room, these officers were so cold and uncaring. No compassion, none. And it's very intimidating. I felt uncomfortable being there. I know they had to be there, and I understood that. But it was hard. It's like I asked him, I said, why are they in there? Well, they have to be by law. I said, well, it's not like he's going to jump up out of bed and run down the hallway. They even had handcuffs sitting out there. And that just... It's something I don't want any other mother. I don't know. The system's broken, and it needs to be fixed. And there's got to be a way to fix it. I understand. I'm not trying to condemn the police. I'm not. But their way is not working. And I understand they have ways of going about and doing things. But, it's just, I don't know. They need help. They really do.
Do you feel like if they kept a better eye on Ronald that he would be here today?
Yes. Yes, because him being up on the second floor for medication.
I'm not sure what floor he was on.
I was under the impression he had been up on the second floor doing his getting his medication. I guess that's what, and that because they said that he refused his medication. You know, that by law they cannot force him to take his medication. But yet, on the other hand, I don't understand this because I, as a parent, if my child is on medication and I'm not giving him that medication properly, I can be held as a child neglect to my child because not seeing that they got the proper medication. Well, it's the same fact for them. If he didn't want to take it, I understand, you know, but they should have made sure he was properly taking his medication. They make sure he does everything else by the book. Why not his medication?
Can you remember the last time you talked to Ronald?
It's been several months because he called wanting money, and I wouldn't give him any because I just told him I don't financially have it, you know, and that the time he called, it was not a good time for me because I had other financial obligations that I could not ignore, and but his sister was sending him money, and Ronnie had a way. He knew people. He knew people I didn't even know he knew, you know, and my son loved me. I know he did, and Ronnie was a character because he was so good-natured, and it took a lot to get him angry. But, you know, because even when he was in school, he was the joker of the class, you know, and everybody loved Ronnie. You know, he's got friends out there now that are just unbelievably cannot believe this happened. They're, you know, and they're saying that the system let him down. And, you know, it's just, I felt if they could have been making their rounds, and that him putting that towel over the window should have been a red flag right there. And then him handing his, you know, there's a lot of red flags going up, and it just, but if they'd have made the rounds shorter, I think it would help prevent a lot of this.
Yeah. Right now, Ms. Darlene, what would you say to other mothers who have children in a Tarrant County jail?
Keep close contact with your child and make sure that if there is an outcry, he starts making an outcry, to call and let someone know that this is what's going on, and that stay as active as you can with them. You know, he had family that was doing that. His sister was calling, he's allowing his sister call. She was sending him money. You know, he was in contact with us. He had a girlfriend he was in constant contact with, you know, and just do what you can, as much as you can do, you know. Make sure there's a lot of people checking on him because, you know, and the minute he was making outcries of this, they should have done something. They should have done something. And I just felt like they waited too late. They waited too late, and then this happened. Because I feel if they'd have checked him every 15, 20, 30 minutes, he wouldn't have had the time to do this. They would have caught him.